Hello. Hello. We should be live. Welcome, everyone.
Excellent. Welcome to the Stream of Truth. I am Dr. Tassel Faith Chamebrook.
And I'm Sean Kelly.
And the topic today is Give Your Dreams to God, which is a very exciting, powerful topic. And before that, we have a new thing we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think so. We're thinking that we'll do a little card pull to try and maybe get an idea of what the energy is like in the day. And if it doesn't resonate, that's okay. But we'll just pull a card and we'll see what happens. I have a whole bunch of awesome decks that we can play with, and just take a few minutes and just talk about, I guess, the energies that are at play right now. It seems a lot of the people that will tune into this type of content are going to be, I think, pretty intuitive, pretty tuned into these types of things, and it could offer some, clarity. I know for me, it helps me a lot. And I haven't been doing this lately, and so this morning I just felt this pull to do this. So I hope everyone will oblige me. So I'm using this deck. It's called the Galactic Heritage. Let me just get this thing out of here. The Galactic Heritage deck. This one is really cool because it's got a lot of mixed polarity cards in it. So it's very punchy and truthful. It doesn't pull the the punches. It delivers a very, in my experience, accurate reflection of the energy, whereas some of the tarot or some of the oracle decks can be very rose colored glasses in many ways. Not that I have a problem with that either, but I'm more interested personally in seeing a more direct, clear image of what's going on with me or with the energy. So that tends to be my orientation. So I'm just going to pull one card. It's just sort of the card of the day. I don't know if you guys do any of this types of practice, but I always pull a card every day. I actually just use an app on my phone, but I don't think there's really any difference. But anyway.
You made a funny comment that the wizard would be just doing card tricks.
Yeah. We're going to have the wizard card tricks.
Wizard card tricks.
At the beginning, if people enjoy it.
Excellent.
All right. So can you give me a number, Tassel?
Oh. Is it
1, 2, or 3?
Range?
1, 2, or 3. Sorry.
Okay, 1, 2, or 3.
I guess
okay.
I should tell you the range. Yeah.
Okay. How about 3?
Perfect. Ooh. Alchemy.
What does that mean?
Asani. And so that 102 numerology is a 3. And look at that art on it too. So my intuition's telling me that you could see that rainbow color, that there's 2 beings there, sort of. It looks like they're communicating maybe an idea or a consciousness. It's coming into sort of a union, or a thought or a dream. And I think really what this is a perfect card, I think, for the energy that I'm feeling today, because I think what we've been going through, I've talked about it for the last couple days. We've talked about it for the last couple days, that we've had this sort of difficult, challenging energy, this stuff coming up, right?
Yes, related to the lunar eclipse.
Right, and so the alchemy is all about transmuting that dark or that shadow into a more aligned sort of story in many ways. So I think what's sort of happening is we're alchemically like transmuting ourselves to be more aligned with what we know to be our truth. So what's happening is that the aspects of self that we have not really wanted to look at yet, that maybe like some of the deeper things, the deeper traumas, just for me, it's been a lot around my fatherhood and my parenting and the role I felt I was supposed to play, but didn't, or what I'm not able to do that role anymore. So I sort of having to let go of some of these aspects of self that just they're not the reality, right? So, what's happening, I think, is that we're being shown that it's not acceptable for us anymore to delay or to pretend in ourselves or in our communications with others, that there's a certain level of honoring of ourselves that has to happen. Part of the process to get to that honoring, though, is the alchemy, is the transmutation, like sort of the understanding of who we actually are, what we actually feel, and how we actually, in our true being, wish to approach these situations or our higher self, what is truly aligned with us and what is not so aligned. And so we use that process of alchemy to shift all of that and to then sort of heal what ends up becoming a wound. So like for example, just using my fatherhood and sort of self-worth issues around my parental role, as I realize, I'm not being the parent I wanted to be, I have to then heal that. Like there's a part of me that's in pain and wounded from not achieving that goal or having to let go of the idea that I had around what my perfect father role looks like. And so we need to, we're going to see all of that come up, and then we'll have to heal that using alchemy, which is essentially the best way to describe that is it's turning lead to gold or turning fear to love. And doing that through gratitude, acceptance, forgiveness, and surrender. And that's how we shift that truth into the new forming of what our actual aligned beliefs are. And then from there, it's all honky dory, right? I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. What do you think?
I think it's really interesting because I think probably all of us throughout our lives have had our human dreams, our human ideas of what we wanted to do in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And then often when we experience our awakening and we align more, with our divine plan, a lot of those human dreams start falling away.
Yes.
And it really is it's a death. It's a grieving process. And I've doing the same thing. My ideas of how I would parent and my family and all of that died. Mm-hmm. And I'm laughing, but it's so painful.
But we were both saying how much lighter we feel today. We've both gone through a bunch of stuff over the last while. And we're both talking about how we feel so much lighter, just like there's less baggage or less, less on our shoulders. And the second card, like the card on the bottom of the deck, which I wasn't actually going to pull this, but for whatever reason I flipped it, is actually the same Esasani, but it's integrity. Mm-hmm. And so it's exactly what I was sort of saying was we're moving into the integrity, the integrous aspect of self through the alchemy. Like we're moving into I don't think it's going to work for us to not be in our integrity anymore, is sort of what I'm feeling. So people that are on this path that are, working towards their awakened, expanded consciousness are going to find, I think, that when they're not in their integrity, almost like immediately there's going to just be a slap in the face, like internally or in the environment around you. Something's going to go, no, that's not true. You're not being in your integrity. And now you're going to deal with the repercussions of that, whatever those look like. And it's not a punishment. It's to make sure you see where you're lying to yourself, really. Because that's typically what's happening is we're playing a role of some kind. We've formed a role, and we're playing that for others because that's what we think they want, and it may be what they think they want. And I think we're getting to a place where we're just not really capable to do that. We're just, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel, like it's really possible to do that. And so the things that we weren't looking at come up so that we can find our integrity again and be more aligned with our true self, I think. So that was fun.
I know. Maybe we could even do a show on Monday where we talk about this lunar eclipse period.
Yeah.
And it really bringing us into our integrity, because both you and I have had a lot of interesting experiences around that, as I'm sure everyone listening has as well.
Yeah. And on the topic of dreams too, I think what we're doing right now, at least for me, it really feels like this, is we're reforming our actual dreams and how we see our lives in the future, where we're trying to move to in a more integrity oriented place, right? Like in a more true way. Like we're letting go of, like I think you said, some of the desires and stuff that we had that were sort of like veneers or like fake desires. They're desires that we formed it because of the roles that we held, not because they were true desires from our integrity. They're desires that we think will please others and not so much about ourselves.
Yes.
And so, I think that's a really good lead into what we're talking about today, which is forming your dreams and how to I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what we're trying to talk about today is how to form our dreams, hold the desires, while also letting go of it, like let go and let God, right? Like, so you recognize that we do have goals, desires, dreams, however we want to phrase them, but we're not gonna hold them and basically constantly fret about them and live in this place of, well, why isn't it happened yet? And, like sort of let it go a bit, and talk about some of that. Does that sound right?
Yes. And maybe if it's okay with you, we'll just talk about why this topic came up and
absolutely
what we experienced yesterday.
Totally.
So for me, tying into what you were saying about us all coming more into our integrity, over this past week, I have been so guided to really tune into my dreams for my life. And it's interesting for me because before you and I really came together, my own, I guess, individual dreams in a way were just on the forefront of my consciousness. I would think about them a lot. And then as you and I have come together, in a way, I think I was thinking more about our joint dreams or something. And I don't know, just like this week, I really took a step back into myself quite a bit, as I think you did too. And I was just getting in touch with, what is my like deepest dream for me, just individually in my life, really. And it was interesting because I had some, a little like discomfort about sharing this with you. In part because you and I have maybe a little bit different ways of thinking about manifesting and all of that. Although I think we kind of decided in a lot of the ways that they are similar. But so anyway, to get to the specifics, yesterday we were talking about ways we could spend time together. Because I'm in Nashville, you're in Canada. And I think we both started to get a little sort of pessimistic in a way of
Yeah.
how we could spend more time together.
We both have children. My children are young. We have ex-spouses, so we can't pick up and move in any easy way. There's a lot of practical logistics that seem to be opposing what we want, almost like in a direct kind of way. And I think that's why we, wanted to talk about this today, is because what we're, I think, trying to advocate is living in our faith.
Yes.
And understanding that, the universe works in magical, infinite potentials, and the mind can't usually see what possibilities are in the future. Intuitively we'll get some hints and stuff here and there, but the rational mind doesn't really know what's going on. It just says, look at all these reasons that your dream won't be able to come into fruition.
Yes. And this was a big reason why, for me at least, I somewhat resisted our relationship in the beginning, because we met nearly 2 years ago, and pretty immediately we figured out that we lived in different countries and had kids and stuff. And so for me, my thinking mind thought, well, that could never work. How could we ever really spend time together? And I was much more in my thinking mind even just 2 years ago. So yeah, what we're talking about is basically being true to what we feel in our heart, what we feel really aligned about, and letting go and giving it to spirit to make it happen.
Yeah, not letting the rational mind explain away the dream, right? Like,
yes.
Like, the desire's there.
Yes.
It's real. We've talked about this before, but your desires, your truest desires, are the creator's desires.
Yes.
So you can absolutely go, oh, it can't happen. That's a choice that you could make, right?
Yes.
And then it won't happen, of course, right? Because you've decided it's not going to happen. So I think part of what we're talking about is sort of realizing that, there's that naysaying part of you that I call it the dark passenger, that sort of comes in and goes, no, that's not going to work. Here's all the 1,000 reasons why you're not capable of this, or why they won't do what you want them to do, or why nobody wants what you're doing, whatever it is. There's so many reasons that this dark passenger can come up with. It's an infinite number of negative, basically delusion, more or less, that they can throw at you. And it's important, I think, to see that for what it is, and just realize that it's nothing really. It's not really, it doesn't really hold any truth or weight to it unless you give it that.
Yes. There's so many things in what you just said that deeply resonate with me. And I just want to start by saying that, yes, the dreams that we hold are God's dreams coming through us. It's God's desires to experience itself and life in a certain way that we are feeling these when they're just such deep yearnings. And to me, that is a mind-blowing idea, because when I grew up as a child, it felt like no one cared about my dreams. My dreams meant nothing to the people around me. That's what my experience was. And so I think I I lived a lot of my life thinking that I had to put aside my dreams because no one else seemed to care, and a lot of them seemed impractical and maybe difficult to achieve. So I spent most of my life in abandonment of my dreams.
Yeah.
And the way I take that is really in abandonment of myself and truly spirit living through me.
Yeah.
And when it was maybe a couple years ago that I really realized, no, like my dreams are God's dreams. They're one and the same. I am God. God is me. My dreams are God's. God's dreams are me. It's all the same.
Yeah.
And I basically just thought, oh my goodness, I'm fully supported by God with my dreams.
Yeah.
That was a miseducation that I wasn't. I might not have been fully supported by humans with my dreams, but that doesn't matter. I got God on my side here.
Yeah. I'd like to say too, a lot of times as we grow up, I think this is really, really common to just feel like people don't care about your dreams because what they're doing is they have this idea for you, right? Of
Yes.
what would be best for you.
Yes.
A lot of times too, they don't want you to experience failure.
Yes.
And it could be that they don't want you to be hurt, but it could also be that by proxy, they feel your failure as their own.
Yep.
So they can be sort of wanting you to play safe, or,
Yes.
you know, they're more comfortable with this pathway. And so they'll project all that onto you and
Yes.
deny your dreams. I don't think most of them are actually trying to say your dreams are silly, and you know they may, of course, but I think most people are just more oriented to safety and comfort, their comfort zone. And if you're naturally oriented outside of their comfort zone, they're gonna go, ooh, that sounds like a bad idea. And I think this is why a lot of times we hear from people, you know, don't really tell people about your dreams unless it's safe, unless they're, you know,
Yes.
like affirmative, positive people that are not gonna crap on them, right?
Yeah.
But
think-
as kids, we don't get that opportunity to really discern and choose who we're, you know.
I think what you're saying is there's generally not a malintention
I don't think so.
of our parents or
I'm sure
people
there
around
is
us with our
sometimes.
dreams. It's really just we're seeing their own limiting beliefs or their own misunderstanding of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're seeing their limitation of belief upon themselves, really.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. What they believe is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just super excited to understand that my dream is God's dream. God's dream is my dream. And that to me is just super empowering and comforting. And when my human might have some periods of distrust or lack of faith, and then I go back to that, it's super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened between us yesterday is we were basically kind of on a 3D human level trying to figure out basically how we could sort of live together predominantly, but given the challenges of the logistics. And I think we both just ended up getting a little sad and a little frustrated, like, how can we make this work? And then you brilliantly said, you know, I'm just going to take a little time to balance and kind of calm down in a way. And
yeah, I was a mess. Yeah, I was a mess about it.
And so we got off Zoom, and then I'll just say on my side, what happened was I literally saw an image of myself with my face in mud. And I felt like my higher self just picked me up by the back of my neck and pulled me out of the mud. And she basically said to me, Tassel, what is your dream? Just stay in your dream. Just really embody what your dream is and communicate that with Sean, and basically let the universe handle the rest. Because when we were talking in that first round about being together, I still hadn't like fully told you what my dream was.
Yeah, we were more talking about like how can we go back and forth. Like I think you used the word settling, right?
Yes.
Like and that type of thing.
I was making the lemonade because the first round that we were talking,
out of the lemons.
Yeah, the first round that we were talking, I was just like, okay, we live in different countries. Maybe we can just go back and forth every week or something. I was responding to what the external reality currently is and trying to adjust in a way my dream to the current reality.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we took that bit of the time out, my guidance from my higher self was like, you don't need to concern yourself about the current external reality. You don't need to concern yourself about that. Sit in what your dream is.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got back on Zoom, it was kind of funny because you had sort of moved into a space where you were ready just to get back to work, and I wanted to share this stuff. So
yeah.
So then I said, would it be okay if I really shared with you what I just experienced and really what my real dream is here? And you generously said, sure. And so then I got really vulnerable for me. It was a bit of an expansion for me. And I basically told you it is, it's funny. I feel like vulnerable again saying this, I guess, publicly. I said my deepest dream, and this has been a dream of mine my whole life, is to live with my life partner and share a life together and build a life and be best friends and have that team aspect. And I said, and you are my life partner, and I would like, that's my deepest dream, is to live with you full time.
Yep.
And it felt kind of vulnerable to admit that to you, I guess.
Yeah. It felt a little vulnerable for me as well. And thank you, Joe. Mahalo. What does mahalo mean? Can you tell me, or maybe do you know, Tassel, what mahalo means?
It's like I know it's Hawaiian.
Yeah, it's Hawaiian.
Hawaiian greeting, like hello, welcome. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Well, he said mahalo for talking about it. I have trouble manifesting, I guess. I have trouble with manifestation as well. Joe, I think a lot of masculine in certain areas can be a little bit like this, where we have sort of, we're not sure how to really do it the proper way or that type of thing, but we can get into that another time for sure.
We talked about this a lot last night.
We did talk about
way of manifesting in your way. It's very interesting.
My way is more just let go and see what happens. Like set the intentions, I guess, like be aware of my desires and all that type of thing, and then just let it happen. That seems to be what I'm learning how to do in this life. So I don't feel inclined to try to change things and all that. I feel inclined to watch it change itself, really. Thank you. Okay. All right. So mahalo means thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo for telling us that. Appreciate that. I've seen a bunch of people say it, and I knew it meant something like that, but I wasn't exactly sure. And then Tassel's orientation, I think, is more. Oh, my shirt's like ripping apart. Anyway, Tassel's orientation is like is more, I think, going right into it and really empowering it with the emotion. Maybe you could describe your method a little bit.
Yeah. So my method of manifesting, it's something I just do naturally. I don't really think about it. If I have a feeling about something, so for instance, right now we do live apart. So it's my practice to just feel my feelings to the very deepest level.
Of like the lack of it, you mean?
Yes. In
Right.
this case, it would be like feeling the wanting of it and the
Right.
current lack of it. So really just going into that absence. And I've said this many times on different platforms, but when you actually feel a feeling, it's so quick. It only takes like 60 seconds to really feel a feeling.
And I think it actually goes faster and faster too. I feel like it speeds up.
The more savvy you get at feeling your feelings.
And so, I wanted to just highlight before you continue that I think that part of what you're doing is letting go of the resistance that you have, like the part of you that is noticing that your dream or desire is not there. You're like moving through that so you're not holding it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then later you're now in a better state to bring in your manifestation.
Exactly. What I want to say about that is many of us will spend lifetimes, not just this lifetime, but lifetimes not feeling a feeling. I mean, it's almost like our society is structured around us. We say this all the time about not feeling our feelings, distracting us, numbing us, whether it's alcohol or entertainment or there's so much around not feeling our feelings. But anyway, so my point I want to make is it's so quick to actually feel a feeling and the benefits are amazing. So yeah, I will go into the lack of something, that feeling, and it's uncomfortable and there's, like grief there, really. There's sadness there. I'll go very deep into that, but it'll be pretty quick. And then what I feel happens is having gone there and really feeling what I really want creates almost this tsunami of very powerful energy towards what I want, because I have really felt the lack of it. So now I have this energy, this life force in me that is fueling the intention. And that's how I think I can at times be a pretty powerful manifester, because I kind of go in and grab that energy. And I really utilize that to send my intention out to the universe with such powerful energy.
I think what happens is the sort of the negative energy flips polarity, and then is what fuels the more positive, empowering, and expanding manifestation, the one that's more aligned with truth. So you end up having this really powerful ask to the universe, and the law of attraction ensures that your manifestation will come about, providing there's not some sort of veiled resistance, right? But so it can get a little bit confusing with that, because we can have resistances that we're not aware of, but it's really interesting.
I told you last night that sometimes I will literally see the energy just sort of leaving my heart of this powerful yearning of what I really want. I can literally like see that energy come out of my being as I send it out, which is really cool. So then just sort of getting back to what we experienced yesterday, I really shared this deepest dream of mine with you about us living together. And then you shared with me.
I wanted the same thing. Yeah, I didn't realize that you were cueing me there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to like speak for you.
No, that's okay. I thought you were going to say, yeah, no worries.
And okay, so then we were in this space where our dreams were out on the table and we both were aware of them. And so we had it was the same dream to live together. And then I asked if we could do what I call a sacred circle around the dream. And for me, the background of the sacred circle is this was a practice that came to me, and it's very simple. It's nothing complicated.
I like the name of it though, Sacred Circle.
Yeah. This came into my life during my divorce custody situation about 4 to 5 years ago. Before this, my ex-husband and I were super acrimonious and private investigators and court hearings and lawyers, and just it was a battle. It was a battle to the death, it felt like. And over time, I was able to let go of all of that and to approach the situation with peace. And this idea of a sacred circle came in. And so what we would do is once a week, he'd come over to my house and we would sit together on the floor, and I'd have candles and crystals and in Palo Santo and all that. And I would basically invite spirit to be with us in this circle of he and I and spirit, the three of us together. And I'd invite spirit to come in and help us come up with the highest and best resolution for our custody of our children that we share.
Yeah.
And we did this over a period of about 10 weeks. Each week he'd come over, each week we'd invite spirit to be with us, and we'd end up talking, and ideas would come through us. And after 10 weeks, this like perfect, really creative custody arrangement ended up coming through. And I absolutely believe it was from what we did together. Not that we had to necessarily do a sacred circle or anything. That was just sort of a easy way to ask for help.
Yeah.
And like pray together, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I ended up praying together yesterday on Zoom in what to me felt like this sacred circle where we were with spirit, and we both basically asked for help and assistance and showing us the way so that we could live together permanently in the same place, and in a way that would serve the highest and best for all involved, for our children, parents. And how did you experience all of that?
So what was interesting to me is that I think a lot of the vulnerability from sharing the dream comes from the fear that the other will mirror what your negativity is saying. So like there's a part of you that thinks the dream is silly. It thinks that it can't happen. Like there's that voice that's there most of the time. And so before we present it, there's some fear that the other person's going to go, ooh, I don't think that dream's possible, right? Especially if we've had a bunch of experiences like that. Yes. So I think that part of it's important, that, that you actually express it. Also, if you're two people, right, like, and you're together and you're in a partnership, it makes sense to make sure that you guys have an agreement on where you're trying to go. It's okay to not know. You don't want to push anyone anywhere, of course. and you don't have to be in full agreement. But it's a really good idea probably to assess where you guys are at and where you guys see things going, where your heart seems to want to go to. Not necessarily how to get there, not necessarily the plan, but so like I hate plans, and I don't really know how they work. I don't believe they work, but so I'm not oriented that way. But I do like to envision the destinations and the those types of things. So I think it's important to do that step. Thanks Joe. Mahalo, really appreciate you showing up, and yeah, definitely feeling your feelings is really important. Feel it and analyze it. Yeah. I do the same thing, and I think that's a masculine thing, is to do a lot of analyzing, a lot of like analytical type approach to the feeling. And I think sometimes we get in our way. I get in my own way with my analysis, because my analysis can be quite cold, so I'm a little detached from the feeling. But anyways, I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much for watching and stopping by. Hope you have an awesome day at work.
And to that point, what I find is, if I just go into the feeling to begin with, that there is so much insight on the other end after I have felt the feeling. Like, to me, I don't necessarily have to analyze it beforehand. I'll feel the feeling, and then there's so much gold on the other end and it's right there. I don't have to do any work for it.
Yeah, it doesn't happen quite the same for me. I sort of, at least for now, I sort of have to noodle it around a bit. I don't know how else to describe it, but I have to kind of sit with it a bit and then feel it, and then I have to go, what is that? And sort of investigate it, and then I get the insights. So a lot of my insights too are not so much like, they're more around how my feeling is really not like based out of delusion. Usually that's my thing, is like, I'm delusional. that's my, honestly, that's how I heal it, is I notice that I have a delusional story, and I go, wow, that's my delusional story. And then I try to feel it, and and then I have to accept that it is delusion. And it doesn't mean that the feeling's not real, or that, like, it means that you're having a real feeling around a deluded belief, usually, right?
Yes.
So the belief is the delusion, not the feeling. The feeling is the natural thing that's gonna happen as you if you fall into a negative delusion. You're going to have a negative feeling that comes, and the negative feeling is going to be, based on your belief. And so if you notice your belief is not aligned, or I say deluded, I think there's a lot of power in going, yeah, I'm delusional. Yeah. Okay. I'm delusional here.
Yeah. I like what you're saying, that the feeling is the guide to the belief that we're holding. When we pay attention to our feelings and feel them, then we unearth a lot. It could be a limiting belief. It could be an old story. It could be a dream. Doesn't have to be something negative. It's the feeling is like the signal of what is going on a deeper level. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And all of this ties into your, letting go of, or not letting go of, but giving your dreams to the universe or to God. In like, you have to feel all these feelings around them so that you can let it go. Like, and you're not letting it go like, oh, I don't care about it. You're just not, like, it's not weighing on you. the lack
Yes.
of it is not weighing on your shoulders like a burden because you've not
Yes.
felt that. So you feel into all
Yes.
these things, and then
Yes.
you're like, universe, this is what I want. Thank you.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you free to go around your business, and you don't feel that pressure, that pain and lack doesn't.
Yes. I think it can be easy. And this was the way I was most of my life, to just be on the surface of my feelings. I was not going really into my feelings, the painful feelings or the feelings of my dreams. I just wasn't going there at all. I was very surfacey. So I
Yeah.
feel like what you are saying, what we are saying is, I just love this idea of just trusting your internal experience that, okay, right now I'm having a feeling of something I want, and it's a little painful because I don't have it right now, but I'm going to just go in there. I'm going to go in there and feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to come back up. And then that's going to also really help me feel what I really do want.
Yeah.
That's the contrast. And so I think basically what we're saying, we say this all the time, is just feel whatever is there,
and
just trust.
We can have a reaction that's often like, we'll explain away the feeling, like
the rationalizing.
Yeah, we'll go like, so we'll feel a lack, and then we may be spiritually and quite higher vibration and think, oh, I know that that's not really true, so I'm not even gonna go into the feeling.
Yes.
Because it's not, we know that it's confused and stuff like that. So this is something that happens to me a lot, or did happen to me a lot, and I'm trying not to do this as much. It's kind of an instinctual thing. It seems to be a patterned response, but basically, like, we feel the bad feeling, and then we go, ooh, I know that this is not true, therefore I don't really have to look at it. I can just remember that my dreams are God's dreams, and that they're gonna come about, and that can feel good in the moment, but it doesn't allow the energy of the lack to move through you.
Yes. And this is exactly what happened with me over the past 2 weeks. And you were privy to what I was going through, is that for 5 years, I have been a single mom living on my own with my kids. And it's been an amazing experience in so many ways. And it's helped me find myself and grow and just evolve so many spiritual practices. It's been amazing. And at the same time, I have felt very lonely a lot, of just living by myself. And sometimes my kids aren't here. And I think it's my spiritual ego that would say, you like, you can overcome that feeling.
You're not
Like,
supposed to feel like that.
You're not supposed to feel like
Yeah,
that. Like, part
exactly.
of your expansion,
Yeah.
part of your expansion here is to, like,
Stop
get
that.
over feeling lonely. And so now it's been 5 years and I still feel lonely.
Yeah.
And so I'm really in this new space for me of complete radical acceptance of myself, my feelings, my internal experience. And so I've gotten to the point where I accept that I feel lonely, and I'm not trying to necessarily change that there's something wrong,
You
that
can
I feel lonely.
hold that, like it.
I feel
Yeah.
lonely. I would prefer to live with you
And
as my friend.
Ra talks about this too in the Law of One, that in order to really balance and to become like non-polarized in a non-charged in these situations, we never are overcoming anything. We're accepting what we feel. We're not overcoming our desire. We're not overcoming, like, if we have a negative addiction or whatever it is, we're not overcoming anything. Overcoming it sort of implies we're like becoming stronger than
There's
it,
fixing, like
pushing
something
it away.
wrong. Yes.
Something's
Yeah.
wrong. These are
Yeah.
not the right orientations. Well, I mean, they're orientations that will end up causing more stuff to build and build. And you'll eventually go, okay, I got to accept this. Eckhart said something like, one of the sentence that woke him up was, how do I live? How can I don't know how to live with myself.
Yeah.
And like what ends up happening is all of this stuff you're overcoming just builds, right? And that's what we were talking about with some of this energy in the last few days or last week or whatever it is. The stuff that you've been overcoming or avoiding or whatever that hasn't really been accepted or really looked at is just comes straight up. You're forced to look at it.
Yeah. So what happened was I just completely accepted that it's the truth that I feel lonely and I would prefer to live together. And then that really helped me just further tune into my dream and to further empower that dream out to the universe. And it has ended an internal war inside of me where I was kind of battling that feeling like that there was something wrong with it, that it wasn't evolved, that it wasn't spiritual. And and as we said in the beginning, this whole experience of really, it's just inner truth. This is just inner truth work, inner truth practice. When we can tune into our inner truth, really feel it, alchemize it, integrate it, move it through us if that's the proper path, it creates so much spaciousness inside of us. And I feel so light and just pure. I feel purified.
Yeah, I want to say that all feeling is really the same thing, and it's all transitory, temporary states. That's why we're never feeling like, oh, I'm so happy right now in every moment of every day. We're not going to hold a feeling like that. So the positive feelings come up and they move through us and they can feel great, and we don't resist those as much. So although some of us do resist those too, because the negative stories are too heavy, right? But the same thing happens with the negative feelings. So we're not actually like sitting in feeling. Whoa. We're not actually sitting in the feeling, and like it can feel like we're saying that if you feel lonely, accept it and just, I'm lonely. That's the truth. What happens in my experience is we feel the I'm lonely. It feels bad. That feeling could last for some time. We may have to do it a few times to get through it. It may build over time and we have to look at it again. But what ends up happening is we don't think about our loneliness. Like the loneliness feeling doesn't permeate the experience as much because we've been feeling it. If we resist feeling it, it hangs on us and sits in us, and we get reminded of it constantly because the higher self goes, look how you feel, look how you feel, look at yourself.
Yes, it haunts us. It ends up haunting
it haunts us
like a ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That has been my experience every time.
Yeah.
And it's a whole nother topic, but like around forgiveness. My ex-husband and I went through a lot where we had to forgive each other. And had I not gone into some of those darker, uncomfortable feelings towards him and him towards me, those feelings would have just remained. And I don't think we would have been able to have a harmonious relationship that we do have now. So when you feel into any uncomfortable feeling, it's going to shift. It's not going to haunt you.
Yep. And then, once you've set your intention for your dream and you're like, okay, this is my dream, you have to, just as you've accepted the lack of it being realized right now, what you're also doing is accepting that, no, my true dream is this thing though. You have to accept that too. And there's some resistance to doing that because there's that negative voice that says that's crazy or whatever it is.
Yes.
And so you're accepting both things about yourself,
Yes.
the negativity or the lack, and then you're accepting the dream, the real dream. Once you've accepted all of that, there's nothing else to worry about. And so
Yeah, you're good.
you don't, you'll find that as long as you can have, as long as you're oriented towards faith already, like
Yes.
your default
Yes.
is to be faithful
Yes.
and trust that things will work out highest and best.
Yes.
Know that you have sort of ideas around how you'd like things to look. They may not look the way that, or arrive that way the way you thought they may, and all that stuff. And just be okay with all of that stuff. You're not going to have all this heavy, burdensome energy that's like weighing you down and all this.
Exactly.
And that's how you let go. That's how you let go of all the attachment. Yeah.
Exactly. Everything you said, 1,000,000%. And just to maybe sort of summarize these steps that we've gone through.
Yeah, we went kind of
today.
all over the place.
Yeah. So I think what we're first saying in this topic of give your dreams to God is first really tune in to what your dreams are.
Mm-hmm.
And do not let your rational mind force you to abandon what your true dream is. And so just the example we gave today of where yesterday we were kind of like, well, how can we see each other? We'll just travel back and forth. That wasn't the true dream.
That was the half-assed dream.
That was the half-assed dream that because we're trying to respond to external reality.
Yeah, the rational mind's going, taper your expectation, boys and girls.
Yeah, like you just, you're going to have to settle.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, our true dream is actually to live together full time and not be traveling back and forth. So we're saying first, really tune in to what your true dream is without the rational mind getting involved and worrying about the hows. Tune into your true dream. And I think what we're saying is if you are in a partnership, to share what that true dream, there might be multiple dreams, what they are. And you said this, but to me, there's nothing sort of more touching and beautiful than two people perhaps sharing a dream or supporting each other's dreams and just holding those dreams so preciously for the other and for the relationship. That to me is, I'm getting chills. It's like, I think that's what I've always wanted. It's almost like, to me, I said this yesterday, of course, I hope the dream works out. But to me, you and I sharing our dreams and praying together about our dreams and holding those dreams together, that's a dream come true for me. That feels so intimate and so loving to hold someone else's dream. What could be more loving?
Yeah. I didn't really think of it like that, but yeah, I totally agree.
It's so beautiful. And I'll just share this really quickly about our particular situation. One of the intentions I've been holding is that you could spend more time than you even could have imagined with your kids because of the way our dream will come true of us being together.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
That I hold that for us and for you. And okay, so get in touch with your dream. Don't let your rational mind take over. Share your dreams with a loved one if that feels safe and comfortable. And then give it to God. And you could do some type of sacred circle as we talked about, or it can be something super informal. You're just, and we've said this all the time. You don't have to like say it out loud or do anything formal. It's spirit knows, and you are spirit.
Yeah.
We talk about it's like confusing, like you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
I like doing some type of ritual or ceremony or a sacred circle, partly because for me, it's a way for me to like get in touch with my feelings even more around it.
Yeah.
Which empowers it. And so in some way you're sending your dream
whatever
out to
your
the
practice
universe.
is. Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Perfect. And then this last step of like just literally then letting it go.
Yep.
And I said this to you last night. I always have an image of I'm holding a dove. The dove is my dream. And I just release the dove into
Hmm.
the sky back
Yeah,
to
I really like
spirit.
that. I like to think of it like almost like I throw a message in a bottle out into the ocean, and like it's
Yes.
gonna land and on an island
Yes.
somewhere, and the universe is
Yes.
gonna go, "Ooh, I will grant this wish."
Yes.
But
Yes.
one thing I wanted to a caveat that I wanted to add to the sharing your dreams with a loved one or someone
Yeah.
close. Be careful if the reason you're sharing is to validate the dream. So
Ah, yeah.
if you're feeling like, okay, I think I know what my dream is, but I would really like someone to validate it for me.
Yes.
Because when you're really wanting somebody to validate it, that's often when you're going to get the opposite of that. You're going to get, not that they're bad people, not that you don't love them and there's not trust, but this even happened with you and I. Not that you were necessarily oriented that way, but we were talking about some dreams, and then I was just in a really wacky state, and I had a bunch of stuff going on with my kids. I was not at all in a high vibe or expanded consciousness at that time.
Yeah.
And I just responded like, I brushed it aside sort of.
Yeah.
And so I say this because if you're like, yourself, your heart, what you want, you don't need somebody else to tell you that that's good. You don't need that. We think we need that a lot as humans because that's sort of how our society tends to function, and we tend to be told that we don't have the answers. We have to find it from the expert and whatever. But when especially when we're talking about, like, sure, if we're talking about math, sure, you have to talk to a mathematician to get the expert level math. But this is not math. This is yourself and your dream. It's your heart. You know it better than any other person around. So you don't need to look to another to find yourself or find your own, validation. You validate yourself. You don't need other people to agree with your dream.
Oh my goodness. Drop the mic. Everything you just said.
Boom.
Yeah. I just in love with everything you just said. Validate yourself. Validate yourself.
Yeah, that's a good little sentence.
That's a really great.
I never really thought of it.
So great. Yes, what you're saying is we don't have to run our dreams by anyone.
Your parents or your partner or whatever.
No.
Share it if you want, but don't validate.
It's your dream. It's your dream. And this was interesting for me because I did feel I was a little judgy about my own dream because my dream is to live with you. And there was a part of me that's like, that's not evolved, and your dream should be like more like, I want to serve people, or I want to
okay.
You know what I mean? Or I want to spiritually grow more or something. And then, because as I've been saying, I've just gotten into this place of like such radical self-acceptance. I stopped judging my own dream. I stopped judging it.
Yeah, that's a lot of times what precipitates the validation seeking, I think, is we judge or resist our own dream, and then we go, but I really like the dream. So-and-so, is this a good dream?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, no, that sounds stupid. Or they may be positive, but if they're positive, it just reinforces the negative habit of validating yourself with others.
And I think what happened energetically in our interaction last weekend was I think I must have still been holding some judgment towards my own dream. And then when I shared the dream with you, I received some of that back. I think that just showed me that I was still holding some judgment of my dream. And this week, as I've just gotten further into the integrity of my dream and not judging it, then you've been very accepting and supportive and loving and on board with, because it is a shared dream anyway. So that's interesting, right? We're always seeing the reflection. Oh, as within, so without.
The most interesting thing about all that, the only reason I even responded in that way was the particular moment and everything that was happening on my side that was going on in my life at that very moment.
It was a very unusual way for you to react towards me or anyone, really.
I don't tend to be like that. And so I
felt like it was orchestrated as a mirror catalyst for me, really, just to see I'm holding judgment.
Basically, I had to abandon. We talked about this last night. I abandoned you and your dream so that you could empower it yourself and validate yourself.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to do that, or no part of me goes, yeah, I would love to just abandon her so she can be stronger. Or we laughed about that last night. Like, yeah, I don't think that way. And it's hard for me to be like, why was I such a dick? Why? And that's how I end up letting it go, is being like, well, I guess I was supposed to be, but it doesn't feel great. And
that's what we were kind of laughing about last night. And because we talk about this other people, that to be grateful when other people bring in sort of negative catalyst because of the expansion, and to really thank them, because it's not easy for them to inhabit those roles. There's a lot of suffering in those roles. Mm-hmm. And so I was saying to you last night, thank you for at times being a dick because it has helped me self-empower, because I've had to there's been a few times I've had to really just come back to myself and be like, I'm here for myself. These are my dreams. I'm never abandoning them, no matter what anyone else says. And it brought my own sovereignty and power to a whole nother level.
I'm like the golden penis. My intentions are gold. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to ever do anything like that.
Yes,
abandon
you are the
people.
Golden dick.
I'm the golden dick, and it just seems